to Debbie's Back Porch again. We're having breakfast, and I'm going to make some hash browns this morning. And I don't make hash browns a whole lot, even though I love them. I don't eat a lot of potatoes, but Fred does. So we're going to make some hash browns for him, and I might have just a little. So I've shredded 2 potatoes into this bowl with my new food processor, by the way. I did a review on the food processor. And I'm going to rinse them. I'm going to rinse them pretty well. I shredded them into water, or put them right into water. And for hash browns, and I shred them kind of big. That was one of my requirements for a food processor. And I want mush. I usually use a box grater. But box graters actually are very slow, and I love it, and I love the quality from a box grater. And I've got one that I've been using since 1966. But it starts to hurt your hands after a while. And I can do 2 potatoes, but sometimes when I make latkes, I do like 10 pounds of potatoes. And that gets old fast. So I may still use my box grater, but when I'm doing any quantity, I'm going to use this new little food processor I got. So I'm rinsing. Because I want to get the excess starch off, and I think you want to rinse it till it runs clear. So let's see if the water is clear. And if you can see, yes, the water is clear. So let me drain it. So I've drained these as well as I can, but I want them to be a little drier than this because I want a nice crispy hash brown. So I'm going to spread them out, a paper towel. If you have a kitchen towel that you want to use, you can do that. Now I have shredded onions also, but I don't want the onions to go through this process, and I'm going to add those later. 2 potatoes made an awful lot of hash browns. And then kind of roll them up. I'm going to let them sit like that for just a few minutes before I start cooking. I'll meet you at the stove. I have some bacon grease here. It's not quite enough. I have it heating up. So I'm going to add a little clarified butter to that. You could use oil. You could use lard. If you have more bacon grease, then that's actually all you need. But I want enough so that they don't stick. And so that's clarified butter. And why clarified butter? Because clarifying butter raises the smoke point. And I have a video on that. I want this to get pretty hot because I want them to sizzle when they go in. So we're going to give this just a minute for the butter to melt. Everything's melted. I'm going to test it with 1 little shred of potato, and you see how nicely it sizzles. And this is on a medium to medium high heat. It's like 5 And I've decided that this was way too much potatoes. It'll be a waste. So I'm only going to cook half of them, and the other half I'm going to put in water with lemon juice and put in the fridge. And then we'll have them for dinner. So we've got some heat going there. These dried potatoes, they're not totally dry, of course. But I dried them off as much as I can. I'm going to spread them out. And oh, you can already smell the clarified butter. So that's about half of them. I don't know what I was thinking, 2 big potatoes. So I've got enough also for dinner. Now I'm going to leave this fairly undisturbed for a bit. I'm going to sprinkle a good bit of salt. You know, potatoes are kind of bland without salt. So that was probably close to a teaspoonful, about a half. Salt to taste. And I'm going to sprinkle just a little tiny bit of red pepper flakes. You can use black pepper. I'm using red pepper flakes. So I'll let that sizzle for a bit and I'll be back. Okay, now I need you to resist the urge, because when it gets to this point you're going to want to start turning it. Not yet. You'll see we're getting a little brownness around the outside, but we want some crunch on these. And so we're going to wait just another minute or so, and then I'll show you how to check. My dogs hear a squirrel. Okay, if you'll see, we've got some nice browning there and a little crispiness. So now I'm going to add the onions. Without this liquid that's down in the bottom. And you don't have to put onions in yours, but if you do put the onions in, don't put them in at the beginning. You hear that popping from the liquid in the onions? Okay, now we're going to start turning it over. And I'm not trying to keep it in one piece. If it comes apart, that's fine. I'm going to turn it 2 or 3 times. But I want to have some crunch all through it. I don't want soggy potatoes in the middle. So we need to get that crunch going, and that crunch is a sign that the potatoes are drying out. That brownness. And if you'll notice, we didn't actually have a whole lot of oil in this. There's enough to add the flavor. Enough to get some crunch, but not a whole lot. Okay, that's the first turn. We'll be back. Okay, we're getting that browning on the other side. Let's do another turn. I'm going to turn the heat down just a little bit, because I want them nice and crunchy, but I don't want them burned. Yeah, I think we're ready for our last run. So they're still steaming, so they're still moist inside. And I'm making actually 2 different size cakes here because Fred will eat twice as much as I do. So what we've got is crispy on the outside, soft in the middle. I'm going to turn the heat off now, but I'm going to leave these here. And I'm going to go ahead and cook my eggs. Bacon's already done. So I'm about ready to eat. Breakfast with hash browns. Get you some ketchup. Get you some ketchup if you like. I'm probably going to get some. These are crunchy on the outside. And they have some nice, smooth, tender potatoes in the middle. And they are yummy. So hash browns for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I hope you try them by this method. It doesn't take a lot of grease, and you get a lot of flavor. Thank you for joining us on Debbie's Back Porch.